Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Local Gov Stories podcast. Are we at number 6? I think
I
we're at.
believe that sounds right.
Oh my goodness, we should know this. We're experts and we don't know this. Hi, Jim. Good to see you again.
Great to be here, Melanie. Thank you. As always, it's fun to work with you. I'm excited for another ILCMA Local Gov Stories podcast.
Me too. Actually, last time we saw each other is the last time many of us saw each other at the summer conference in beautiful Galena.
That was
Did you
like
have a great
5 months
conference?
ago, right?
No, it's like, okay, it's a little bit. It's like early June, right? It's already towards the end of July. It feels like a millennia ago. I
Yeah.
actually was out of the country since then, so that always creates like a weird time warp. Um, it was good to see you at conference. Did you have a great conference?
It was phenomenal. As always, so first of all, this was my first summer conference. I've been to the winter conference a few times, and now that I've been to the summer conference, I'm from now on I'll go to both, and I don't know why I missed one in the past. Just the networking and being around everybody, it's so energizing and fun, and just
Yes,
a great time.
it
The
is.
staff at ILCMA do a great job. They put a lot of work into planning the events and planning the sessions. I came back. Our staff was annoyed by me the first week I came back because every other thing out of my mouth was referencing something from the conference.
I attended this session. We need to do it this way.
Yes.
Also,
By
it's,
the way,
there's
speaking of
what?
sessions, the one you guys did on communications was phenomenal. It was
Wasn't it? I mean,
the whole
I'm not
panel
saying
you had
it.
up there.
Yeah, we had a great panel. Molly um from the village of Buffalo Grove, and Molly Gillespie, and Jack Casconi from Village of Arlington Heights, Jessica Spencer from River Forest. I was honored to be able to be the, what are they? I wasn't the MC. What
You're the
was I?
moderator.
The moderator. But I was involved too because we work with River Forest and we have the last few years. So Jessica and I kind of presented together on what it is to outsource. And and we, Buffalo Grove has a department, and Arlington Heights just has one person, and then outsourcing. So we provided really different opportunities on how to get that communications job done. So I think a lot of people did like it. Thank you. I enjoyed doing it.
Well, and one of the things that really struck me is how far we've come as a profession with communications, whether it's like branding and marketing and that sort of thing, or constituent or resident communications. We have come so far just in the last 10 or 15 years. It was like that hit me during the middle of your session, and it was so exciting to just be a part of that. So good
Yeah,
job.
it was. Ah, thank you very much. Yeah, I also you meet people, you can make connections. Actually, one of our guests today, which we will preview in a little bit, I met at conference, and that evolved into him becoming a guest. So for those of you out there, just raise your hand. I mean, I mentioned the podcast and he's like, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to be on the podcast. And there it happens. So other than that, you interviewed a very interesting lady who is leading the city of Batavia. Why don't we give a little bit of a preview before we head to the interview?
Excellent. I am so excited to introduce everybody to Laura Newman. She's the city administrator of the city of Batavia. And there's a couple great things that we talk about. First of all, something I could relate to, and a lot of us can, is those of us who have shifted gears mid-career and we're doing something other than local government and shift into local government. She has got a great story. She was a litigation attorney. And before that, she was a salesperson, and she has I believe she has her undergrad in marketing, and she's now her first full-time job in a municipality. Her first job was being the city administrator for Batavia, and I think this month is her 8th year in the position. Not only has she done well, it's safe to say she has rocked this job in Batavia. So she has got some great things, especially their leadership development program that they have. Is very exciting to hear about it. And it's something that I think is going to be very inspirational to other municipalities.
Yeah, way to go right to the top, right? Just like go right on over everybody. But actually that does touch on one of our pillars about talking about transitioning from the private sector to public sector. And obviously Laura made it happen. So for those
Well,
of you out there who have an interest in it, like Laura's going to show you how she made it to be. become
And one of
possible.
the things Laura and I talk about is all the transferable skill sets from private sector into the public sector.
Yeah, it's a wide breadth of experiences, really. I think it would be very enriching to have different experiences bringing into a leadership role such as that. So, without further ado, why don't we go to your interview with Laura?
Here we go. So today I have the opportunity to introduce you to Laura Newman, the city administrator for the city of Batavia. Laura, first of all, thank you for joining us today on Local Gov Stories.
Thanks for the
Um,
opportunity.
Laura has a great story to tell about her journey into local government. That's one of the things that I love about ILCMA as an organization. It gives us an opportunity to network and get to know not only best practices, but get to know people's stories that either help with career or just help in general with maybe recruiting people to see how other people got into local government. But ILCMA as an organization offers and fosters a lot of that networking and getting to know each other. And that's one of the pillars of our goals here for the ILCMA Local Gov Stories podcast is tell the local gov stories of our ILCMA members from across the state of Illinois. And somebody with a very cool story to tell us today, Laura Newman, again, the city administrator for the city of Batavia. And Laura, I'll let you tell your story, but one of the things I love is, like me, you're a mid-career transition into local government. And one of the things I know when you're outside of local government or you're not working in local government and you look into what the public sector looks like, it could be intimidating. And one of the things that I hope today does is anybody out there that might be kind of feeling around to maybe transition into public sector employment, Laura's got a great story. So Laura, I could read your bio here, but I think it would sound better if you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you eventually got into local government. And what I love right now, I'm in the process of getting my MPA, and there's a lot of MPAs obviously that work in local government, but you have something a little bit more unique. You have a law degree and you were a labor attorney before you got into local government. So tell us how you went from being a labor attorney and you worked in sales at one point, and now you're a city administrator. How did that happen?
Well, I've lived in Batavia for about 20 years, and it was, boy, I guess going on maybe 18 years ago. My neighbor, we were getting to know one another, and I was telling him about my background, that I've been an attorney, and at the time I was working as an executive for one of my clients. So I had transitioned to that role, and he said, boy, with a background and skills like that, you'd make a great city administrator. And I said, what's that? I actually had never heard of that position before. So he explained it to me, and I thought, my gosh, I would love to do that, because at that point, I'd already fallen in love with the city of Batavia and everything about it. And I thought, boy, that really would be the best job I could imagine, would be doing the role of a city administrator for the city of Batavia. I only had to wait about 10 years for my predecessor to retire. So it took a while before the opportunity presented itself. But at the time, another neighbor had replaced my other neighbor as an alderman, and I talked to her about the position. I also reached out to, in my labor attorney position, I had represented several municipalities doing their contract negotiations and such. And so I had relationships with city administrators. And so I reached out to them to ask them, what they thought in terms of me not having a master's of public administration, and whether they think that I would be qualified and successful if I was to take a position like that. One of the pieces of advice that I got from that alderman, I thought was very good, and it was a big part of my decision making, was she said, in that role, you can't always make everyone happy. And I know that you, Laura, always try to look for a solution where everyone is a winner. And in the public sector, you can't always do that. But while that has been a difficult part of my transitioning to this role, I have gained skills in that area where you just need to make sure that you're listening to all sides. But getting back to the non-traditional path, yes. And my undergraduate degree is in marketing. Just a funny fact, I actually started off in the political science department, but I transferred to business. So who knows what my career path would have been had I stuck with political science initially. But yeah, then after that, I was in sales for a short period of time and found out that really wasn't where my passion was. And so I pursued my law degree. I loved being a labor and employment attorney, but the law firm environment wasn't, after a while, I didn't like that. And so I took that position with one of my clients. And I really enjoyed that and thought I would stay there for the rest of my career until I heard about being city administrator for City of Batavia. And I have not regretted one moment of making the decision to be city administrator.
I love it. And when did you first become city administrator?
That was just July 5th of 2016 was when I came on board. And I was thrilled that they were willing to hire someone with my background. I think, in a way, they were really taking a chance, not hiring somebody who had an MPA and had come up through the ranks working in municipal government. But I think the reason why it worked so well is because the city of Batavia at that time and even now has a very strong team of department heads. And, in the beginning, I was really drinking from the fire hose, learning what municipal government was all about. And I couldn't have had better teachers than all of those department heads. And I'll come into a situation where, because of that, there was a high level of trust between the elected officials and the department heads, which just allowed the department heads to, fully do their jobs and also, helped me a great deal.
So in a minute, I want to talk a little bit more about the department heads. Really a key for a successful administrator in any role is really having a good team of department heads. So I want to talk to you about that in just a minute. But first, back to making the transition from private sector into the public sector. When Batavia was looking at you and you were going through the interview process, did anyone raise any concerns about being able to apply knowledge or skill sets from the private sector into the public sector?
Absolutely. For one thing, I knew, I think some of them shared with me afterwards that there were some scenarios that they presented to say, what would you do if, in the following situations? And they said, we were kind of surprised that somebody from a completely different setting, but at the end of the day, it was, problem solving. But funny you should ask that question. I was a couple of years into my term and as a city administrator, and one of the aldermen stopped me at the farmer's market on Saturday and said, I did not vote for you to be hired, and I really thought that it wasn't going to work out, but you're doing okay.
I love that. That has to make you feel good.
It really did.
And so we could talk about the differences between the two, but was there anything that surprised you that a private sector, anything that related to public sector more than you thought it would, like skill sets or something you took from the private sector?
I think from the private sector, I took a lot of strategic planning. And I think that's something that I hope that I have brought to us is to create a plan, short and long-term plans that pursue specific objectives, which your city council and elected officials are determining, what is the vision for the future? What are the objectives to pursue? But then to let the department heads, the staff, identify what are the actions that can accomplish those objectives and give them both the authority and the resources to be able to pursue those things. So I hope that that's something that I've brought to the organization.
Excellent. Now, one of the things that you had mentioned is having strong department heads. Tell me about having strong department heads. How do you get them in place? Do you have homegrown ones that have come up through the ranks? Tell me about recruiting. Like department heads for administrators, these are very key roles. There's also a very competitive time right now to keep department heads. So with retention, that's a big deal. Tell me about working with your department heads.
So the team of department heads that were here in 2016 when I was hired, I'm going to say that 100% of them came to this organization from outside our organization and were hired as the directors of their function. Now, many of them are at a time where they are fully vested and can retire. And many of them plan to do so over the next few years. We have implemented a leadership training program such that we've been able to create bench strength within the functional groups that I hope will provide us with internal candidates to assume those leadership roles. And by doing so, the advantage of that is that you've got a period of time that there can be that institutional knowledge transfer rather than having someone come in from the outside like I did and have a very steep beginning learning curve. And the opportunity, I think, to work with your predecessor is really invaluable. I'm glad that the city of Batavia provided me with a month to work with Bill McGrath, who is my predecessor and continues to be a mentor to me.
That's excellent. So the program, is this available to just keep people within a department, or could any city employee sign up for it? Or tell me about that. It sounds great.
Yeah, we are working with an organization that is Leadership Management Institute, LMI, and they have two programs. One is Effective Personal Performance, and the other one is Leadership. And so we identify people who aspire to leadership positions. If they are earlier in their career, we'll do the Effective Personal Performance program that we offer each program once per year. But those who either are currently in a leadership role or they're one step away from a leadership role and we're grooming them for that, then that would be somebody who would go to the leadership program. And thus far, we're getting really good feedback from our employees who have been through these programs that they really feel like it has had a positive effect on their ability to be their most productive, but also to feel like when they are offered leadership positions, they understand what it is to achieve, accomplishing goals with and through others.
So, well, first of all, you can never go wrong investing in employees like this. I think that's a great thing you guys are doing. How was this selling this concept to your city council? Did you get was there pushback? I know sometimes when it comes to investing in whether it's salaries or programs like this, there could be some pushback on things like that. Did you face any?
I'm so fortunate. Working in the private sector, oftentimes training is the very first thing. that's tossed aside, and it's coming up, through a human resources sort of background. It's so frustrating because the return on investment for training is huge. This city council needed no convincing. They understand that to have to recruit at the top levels of your organization, leaves gaps in leadership for the time that you are doing your search, and then the amount of time it takes people to get up to speed. If it can be a smooth transition internally from someone who is here and has come up through the ranks and has had the appropriate training to be successful in a leadership role, that's a win for the organization and a win for that person.
So how long has this program been in place?
It's been in place for about 2 years now.
Okay, so 2 years. That's 24 months. Has it been in place long enough to know? Could you say it's a success?
Yes, I really do, because we recently had our lieutenants and the promotional testing for lieutenants and battalion chiefs in the fire departments, and the candidates in their interviews mentioned the program as what was going to help them be successful in their roles. So that really felt good, because it was a huge time commitment on the employees' part. And most LMI is no different. Most of their clients are in the private sector. So to have this apply to a fire department and to public works, an employee could say, yeah, that's not what our workplace is like. But I really give credit to the facilitator, who said, no, this really is universal when it's about leading people.
Wow.
So I really do think it's been successful.
Well, that's phenomenal. It's a very innovative program, and it's working in honestly a relatively short amount of time. Sometimes programs like this, the success comes after a while of implementation, but 2 years and it's a success already, and it's innovative in local government. It's a great example of local government innovation. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We're kind of running short on time now. So
Sure.
Our guest today on Local Gov Stories, Laura Newman, the city administrator for the city of Batavia. Now, Laura, I know you had mentioned before we started the interview, you had mentioned how ILCMA has played a part in your success and in bringing you into local government. Tell me a little bit about ILCMA and how that's helped your career.
Sure. At the beginning, when I became city administrator, ILCMA reached out to me and said, we've got a program that is a 3-day program, and it's for new city administrators. And I, at the time, was looking for all of the opportunities to learn about this position that I could get. And so I definitely signed up for that. And I got so much out of the program. And some of the other city administrators that were part of that program, we feel like we were sort of a graduating class together, alums, if you will. But I think one of the most valuable parts of that course were that they gathered some of the most respected colleagues in this profession to have them come and tell about an aspect of being a city administrator. And I just learned so much over the course of those 3 days, but I also learned what a great resource ILCMA is. And at any point when I was learning this role, I knew that they were going to be, a very strong resource for me.
Well, it sounds like ILCMA has been a key part of your success, and your members like you are a key part of what makes ILCMA great. It's again, whether it's conferences or the podcast or workshops, the networking and just being in the same room is like, we have some great people in the state of Illinois working in local government.
Absolutely. We sure do.
So excellent. Well, Laura Newman, the city manager for the city of Batavia, our guest today on Local Gov Stories. Laura, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you, Jim. This has been really fun. Thanks.
Well, that was a great interview. Laura is very interesting and very multi-talented with all this different rich background that she has. I love how she took that leadership, kind of leveraged off the private sector experience and brought it to local government, where she is creating a path for people to move up and on if they choose to. What an awesome thing.
She's
I think
got
that's
some
amazing.
great innovation going on in Batavia. So Laura Newman, City Administrator of Batavia, thank you for being our guest today on ILCMA Local Gov Stories.
Absolutely. And also speaking to the fact that, there are ways to move into local government, different kinds of skills translate. If you're willing to learn and grow into the position, Laura is a perfect example of how that can be done. So I got the chance to meet with Taylor Baxter and interview him. He's the city administrator for the city of Clinton, and we haven't had a chance yet to talk with a leader of a town that is as small as Clinton is. But you know what? The interview will tell the story. So maybe we just go on and head to that. But first, we need to hear about what's going on in ILCMA. I know there's a couple few things coming up.
That's right.
Yeah.
ILCMA is staying busy this summer. Of course, we kicked off the summer with the conference last month, but they have the Local Gov 2024 Out to Play Summer Series. This started in July, hosted by the following local government organizations: the Illinois Association of Municipal Management Assistants, IAMA, APWA, the Chicago Metro chapter of the American Public Works Association, Illinois chapter of the American Planning Association, IFGOA, the Illinois Government Finance Officers Association, Illinois Public Employee Labor Relations Association, the Legacy Project, and Women in Planning and Development are hosting the Out to Play series. Like I said, the first one was in July, the second one coming up August 1st. And by the way, if you miss any of this, don't worry about it. You can just go to the ilcma.org website/events, and it's all listed there. But August 1st, the Out to Play series is in Chicago, well, actually Rosemont. The Chicago Dogs, actually out in King County, the Chicago Dogs from Rosemont.
Where is this, Jim?
Taking on the King County Cougars. I should have read this ahead of time. And then August 15th, we have Out to Play series at, this sounds like a lot of fun, at Midwest Coast Brewing in Chicago. And before all that, August 1st, the Downstate Summer Conference in Champaign, hosted by Christopher Walton, the village administrator for Savoy, and our friend Jeff Fekenchew, the city manager in Rochelle, are hosting the Downstate Summer Conference. Again, that's August 1st and 2nd. For more information, visit ilcma.org/events.
Yes, and Mr. Fegenshue is a former guest who we had a great interview with him. So good luck on the Downstate Summer Conference all. And if you haven't registered, you can do that on the website, ilcma.org/events. We're both having trouble with that website today. All right, so without further ado, you're going to get the chance to meet Taylor Baxter of Clinton. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to introduce Taylor Baxter, who's with us today. He is the city administrator for the city of Clinton, Illinois, which is a little bit north of Decatur, who, if you don't know where Clinton is, you might know where Decatur is. Thank you, Taylor, for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm excited to have you because we haven't yet had a chance to talk with someone who is leading a smaller town. Like how many, what is the population of Clinton?
We're just right at 7,000.
7,000 people. So it's interesting because my firm works with smaller towns, and while the population is smaller, the job is pretty much the same, whether you have 50,000 or 25 or 7,000 people, you have a job to do. So we'll talk a little bit later about, how you make that happen with, in some ways, fewer resources, but you still have to get the job done. But first, would love to hear about how you ended up where you are today as the city administrator of Clinton, your background.
Yeah, I would love to start there. Really gained an appreciation for municipal government. My very first job, I worked for the city of Pontiac. I was their recreation supervisor for a little bit. Wanted to try something else. I didn't know if that was going to be my end goal, my career ambition. So I went to State Farm. I worked in the private sector for a little bit. And it just so happened that the previous director, my old boss in Pontiac, retired. So they flew me back to Pontiac and I had a great interview and I ended up taking the job. So I was with the city of Pontiac for about 7 years. And yeah, so it was a great time. I love my time in Pontiac and my connections, which I think we're going to get to later. And I'm with the city of Clinton now and I love it.
So your job at working in Parks and Rec, do you feel like for your job today, do you feel like there were certain things that prepared you? Because I imagine coming into a manager role or an administrator role is a little bit challenging, right? If you haven't done
Mhm.
it before. So did that experience help you in your role today?
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of aspects of being a department head really helped me for my first city administrator role. And you don't hear a lot about Parks and Rec directors moving into administrator roles. I've met a couple people that have gone that route, but we really touch on a lot of every single aspect of city operations. You know, we have a splash pad, so we need assistance with our public works. They help us with our mowing. We have like all of our baseball fields, you know, we're working with economic development and tourism and bringing people from in and out of town with tournaments. We have to work with the police department when we have issues that happen in our park. So that along with budgeting, planning, communicating with council, understanding just how government works as a whole really prepared me for this next role. And yeah, I can't say enough great things about the city of Pontiac, but also just making that jump from department head to city administrator, that really benefited me for sure.
So you have, just because we've talked a little bit prior to this, we did meet at the recent conference. Did you have a great time at
Mhm.
conference?
It was a blast. I loved it.
So did
Yeah.
I. So did I. I love what I love about conference. I continue to meet amazing people in local government. It's such a good way to connect. You know, obviously
Mhm.
the education piece, but just kind of the interpersonal, you know, developing relationships with new colleagues. I
Mhm.
imagine and managers, administrators, it's good to have people who are doing your job just to bounce things off of.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit. So I know that when you were at Pontiac, you actually threw your hat in the ring to become was it a manager there
Yeah. The city administrator in Pontiac.
or
Yep.
administrator there?
Hmm.
And tell me about, that's a good story. We talked a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's kind of a unique one. Bob Carls was the city administrator in Pontiac, and he was there for over 40 years. For those that don't know that name, he a legend in city administration, and he actually received the Bob Morris Lifetime Achievement Award a couple of years ago. So Bob is very knowledgeable, and whoever got that job had major shoes to fill. So I was a little bit nervous, but yeah, he ended up retiring, and we went through the process, and there was three of us internally with the city of Pontiac that ended up applying for Bob's job. Uh, the city of Pontiac utilized a recruiter for that position, and the gentleman that helped us actually stayed in contact with him. I didn't end up getting the job in Pontiac. Our police chief ended up getting it. And Jim Wolford, if he's watching, or if you guys know Jim Wolford, he's an awesome guy. He's doing great things in Pontiac, and I loved my chance to work with him, even if it was just for a short while as the city administrator, and when I was still in Pontiac. But yeah, I stayed in contact with the recruiter, and it just so happened that the city of Clinton was looking to fill their city administrator role. And when I was talking with the recruiter, I told him, I was like, hey, I really like this route. I want to go this route, city administration, and be involved in all the different areas. That's something I really enjoy. So if you have something, maybe I might be a good fit, let me know, and maybe we could talk about it. And not even a couple months later, yeah, City of Clinton opened up and they hired the same recruiter that was in Pontiac and made the connections. And I had my interview, and here we are.
That's awesome. That there's a lot to say for something that you have passion for, not giving up on it, and
Mhm.
also developing relationships, planting the seeds to get to where you want to go, and look where you are now. Now you're the man in
Yeah,
charge of Clinton. Great job.
yeah. I think there's something to that, Melanie. There's going to be opportunities, and it seems like it's going to be getting harder and harder to fill these executive level positions. But just because you don't get the first one doesn't mean that you weren't the right candidate. Maybe it's just not the time. And somebody that you're going up against, I mean, my goodness, Jim Wolford taught in the FBI Academy. I mean, how can I was just a Parks and Rec guy, so there's things that it's not me as a person or me as professional. It's just, you got to find the right fit, the right opportunity. You got to be willing to take chances. And part of that is hearing the word no sometimes. And that's hard to deal with, but it's just reality of just life in general. So I just encourage people to continue on and continue to push and try to put your best foot forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. To the saying of you win some, you lose some, but maybe
Yep,
you lose some, and if you keep trying at it, you'll win some ultimately.
for sure.
Um, all right, so let's switch gears. Tell us about Clinton. I will tell you before you enlighten us on the lovely city of Clinton.
Mhm.
I know Clinton because I started my reporting career on another profession a lifetime ago in Decatur, and
Mhm.
Clinton is just a hop, skip, and a jump, maybe like 20 minutes
Yeah,
north of Decatur, roughly. It's a
correct.
quaint little town. I tell us all about Clinton, not Clinton.
Yeah, so for those that don't know even where Decatur is, I'll kind of use, we're right in the middle of Bloomington, Normal, Decatur, Springfield, Champaign-Urbana. So we are truly the heart of Illinois, in central Illinois. We, again, we have a population of 7,000. We're really known for Clinton Lake. So the power plant here, the nuclear power plant, is in Clinton. One of their sites is here. We have an enormous lake that draws about 1 million people per year, what I'm told.
Oh,
And
wow.
along with that, we have a state park too, Weldon Springs State Park. So those two things really attract people, recreationally wise. We have a lot of camping that happens here in Clinton. So what I'm trying to do is, when I talk to people about Clinton, oh yeah, I drove around Clinton. I went to the lake. Okay, well, come inside. We have a lot of great things here inside of Clinton too. So that's one of the goals that I'm working with the council on, is how to capture those people. But we have a lot of great restaurants, businesses. Our downtown square is really, really neat. We have
Yeah,
a
it is.
pretty neat stage. We call it Mr. Lincoln's stage, and we have concerts there on the square. So it's really fun. It's a great place to be. Our property taxes are extremely low compared to other cities. So that's a fun thing for people. If you're interested in moving to Clinton, you're going to pay less in property taxes. So that's a little snippet of Clinton.
Sure. And don't forget the homestead. I have visited the homestead numerous times, the
Mhm.
beautiful Victorian
Yep.
mansion museum.
Hmm.
So that could draw them in. They could have lunch. They can stop by City Hall and
Hmm.
meet you and say
Yep.
hello.
And I would get in trouble if I didn't mention Apple and Pork Festival. So we have an
Oh,
Apple and Pork Festival. It's the last weekend in September, excuse me, every single year. And it's a 2 day festival. It draws about 100,000 people. So that's something else Clinton's very well known for.
all right. Many reasons to go visit Clinton, Illinois.
Mhm.
So let's see what else. I know you had mentioned that you have a unique form of government,
Mhm.
commissioner form of government. So what is it? Very few. What you said, 50 or so
We
in
have
the
less
state?
than 50. Yep.
Less than 50. So tell us a little bit about that experience. How does that work?
Yeah, so for the commission form of government, we are a little bit different, a little bit unique. So we have 5 different commissioners: Commissioner of Public Affairs, which is our mayor. We have the Commissioner of Public Safety, Health and Public Safety. We have Commissioner of Streets and Public, basically properties, and then we have another one, public utilities. So that's our water department. So each one of them, according to our code book, they have absolute control of their individual areas. So where I fit into all of this is I do all of my city administrator roles as you would normally think of a city administrator. I just work with them individually in their respective areas. So we still have a full functioning police department, fire department, water, streets and maintenance departments, and we work closely all together. So it's more of a collaborational effort than your normal municipal government structure. So it pros to it, yeah, for sure. There's some things that make it difficult. That's definitely not out of the question, but you do what you can and you make it work.
Well, you had said that many of the commissioners have, a good solid professional background and expertise, even experiences in their different areas. So did you find that helpful coming in as a first time administrator?
Yes, and that's what I loved about Clinton is that respect, and we have a lot of seasoned leadership here in Clinton. Where this is my first administrator role, so trying to get a feel of everything, I didn't have to come in and really just blow everything up. It's very well established, and that
Mhm.
starts with our city council, our commissioners.
Yeah.
Pretty much every single one of them, and I'm thinking, yeah, every single one of them worked in that area that they oversee at one point or another. So
Mm.
not only is our department leadership very seasoned, but also our commissioners and city council, they know what to do. They know what needs to be done. So yeah, that certainly made it very easy for me as a city administrator coming in.
That's great. And then we talked a little bit about, less resources to work with. So you obviously, what is the size of your, I guess, staff or employees?
Yeah, so I'll take that as a double-edged sword because we're one of two cities left in the state of Illinois that owns a hospital as well. So when I
Oh,
really
that's unique.
yeah, it's a little bit different. So when I say full-time staff, I mean it's more than what we have. But I'd say besides the hospital, we're at about
Mhm.
30 full-time people, and then
Okay,
it ranges seasonally with part-time leadership.
got it. So do you find, is there challenges, just like enough people to help you get the job done, or do you feel like you have to kind of fill in places? Often I see managers, jumping on social media or doing other things that traditionally they wouldn't normally have to do. But I appreciate it because it's dedication that the job needs to get done. So are there things that you feel like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to jump in here and do these things to make it happen?
Yeah, one of my main responsibilities, besides just the day-to-day city administrator role, is community and economic development. So I'm involved a lot with zoning and permitting, residential as well as commercial. So I have some experience in that. And then with the economic development side, really working with developers in our TIP districts, trying to recruit people to come to Clinton, which everybody tries to do that. But that's a main focus of what the council would like me to focus on right now is bringing people here to Clinton, both to live
Mhm.
and to work. So yeah, that's definitely something unique. Sometimes you see that as whole departments. Well,
Yeah.
this is that department right here. I mean, you're
You're the
looking
department.
at in
Everyone, this
addition.
is the department right here. Here's the.
This is it.
Now, you did
So
say, though, I imagine this is due to your efforts. There are some exciting things happening in Clinton, some growth and development. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, we one of the first major projects that I have was a subdivision that's coming in. We had a piece of property within a TIF district, and we are developing that into 23 individual lots. Now, some might look at this video and say it's laughable that it's kind of a big deal. For Clinton, that's a big deal. We haven't had a lot of development, so this is a pretty unique project. People are very excited about it. We're getting ready to do a needs assessment for a new city hall, police station, and fire station. So that's
Right.
really exciting. But yeah, we have new businesses that are interested in coming into town that I'm working with them. Our downtown is filling up more and more each month, it seems like. So good things are happening here for sure.
Well, I imagine that's due to your dedication and effort. So you've been there for about a year, is it? Is it a
Just
year
about a
yet?
year. Yes. Yep. Mhm.
Well, congratulations on your first year at Clinton.
Thank you.
Anything else that you'd like to add or share about Clinton, yourself, ILCMA, local government, anything?
I, I would just say if you're interested in this career and you want to learn more about it, reach out to somebody that's close to you, that's either a manager or an administrator. That's one of the things I've really found in this field is people want to help other people succeed. And if I can be of any service, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. Again, my journey is not really the traditional one, but really whose is. I mean, everybody comes from different backgrounds and different lifestyles, and everybody has their own little path. But if I can help in any way, but really reach out and just, I mean, have coffee with an administrator. I know for a fact they would love to do that because we love helping other people, and that's one piece of advice that I would give.
Awesome. Well,
Mhm.
Taylor, thanks for filling us in on your background, on the city of Clinton, and all the great things that are happening due to your leadership. And everyone, we will see you next time. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Well, Melanie, as always, phenomenal. It was great to hear another Local Gov Stories on ILCMA Local Gov Stories podcast. And one of the things I love is going from a parks director to a city administrator. I One of the things I always look at is it's skill sets, not necessarily job titles that help people ascend into what their next position or their next role will be in their career. And one of the things I've seen, like right now in local government, it seems, at least my perception is, it's almost trendy for police chiefs to move over into the
I
top
know
seat
that is
in
happening a
the
lot.
Hill.
It is.
We see that a lot. Dixon is a good example. Danny Langross was a guest host on our podcast a couple months ago. But you don't see a lot of parks folks moving over. In parks, to run a parks department, there's so many different moving parts. A lot of times it's the most headcount for full and part-time employees. There's a lot of skill sets that transfer over to the administrator role. So it's cool to see that. So good job on that. Plus also hearing the perspective of a small town, because even in those of us in the suburbs, a small town here is huge compared to some of the small towns in other parts of the state. So it's really good to have that perspective and hear about that. And getting stuff done with little resources, that's a whole skill set on its own.
It sure is. And actually, and it was in the interview, but just I have great respect for Taylor not giving up. As you saw, he tried to become administrator of Pontiac, and the police chief was chosen, actually. Funny enough, speaking of police chiefs moving into administration, and but he didn't give up, and he put his feelers out and kept with his goal to do this, and now he's doing it. And it's a testament to wanting to live your passion, and here he is, he's doing it, and it seems that things are going really well for him in Clinton. So thanks to both Laura and Taylor for joining us today and sharing your stories about how you found your current role in local government. And that's all I got to say. Do you have anything else?
I want to remind everybody, please make sure on your socials you can share a link to this podcast or the podcast page on the ilcma.org website. We would love to share these stories with as many people across, not only across the state of Illinois, but regionally around the country. These are all inspirational for those of us that work or want to work in local government. So help us out by spreading the word. That would be great on whether LinkedIn or Facebook. And go back, and if this is your first podcast, you can go back to the ilcma.org website and listen to past episodes also.
Yeah, it's just ilcma.org/local-gov-stories to find the previous ones, or they're all going to be on social. Good for you to meet people of that we really do want to spread the word. And as you mentioned, it's not just for local government. This is for the greater public, not only for those that want to enter local government, but really helping people to understand the intricate job that is being done behind the scenes that ensures that everybody has what they need to live a good quality of life in the town they're in. So it's not only that, it's also a hats off to the work being done behind the scenes often. Yeah. And I was going to say something else, and now I forgot what it was. It's been one crazy summer, I'll tell you. When you go out of the country, you come back, it's like,
It's flown by. Next thing you know, we'll be doing our fall, previewing for the winter conference. So it'll be coming up before we know it. But Melanie, I guess a good time to wrap it up. So thank you as always. It's fun to work with you. And one of the things like Melanie pointed out with Taylor, if you see us at a conference or at one of the events going on this summer or this fall, come introduce yourself to us, and who knows, maybe you'll be a guest on our next podcast.
Yeah, if you want to land on a podcast, come say hi. And you don't have to wait until a conference. If you have a story that you believe you'd like to share with others, please do reach out to Dawn Peters, dpeters at niu.edu, and let her know you're interested, and we will get a hold of you and hopefully get you on a future podcast. So thanks everyone for joining us on the Local Gov Stories podcast, and have a great day.
Thank you.